A terrific Thursday to you. Hello once again and one last time inside the Tier 4 studio in Morgantown, West Virginia. For the Charleston Daily Mail, I am once more Mike Casazza. I say the last time inside here because this was the last day we got to see practice, and we're at the end of this lengthy preamble to the 2013 season at West Virginia. We began back in March, spring practice, not a whole lot going on, not a whole lot to discuss. Kind of a weird obsession about special teams and punting, and it's evolved slowly but surely into something a little bit more formative in the final stages of the preseason practices here in August. And today we saw a little bit of what we got to see on Monday. That was some live, good-on-good, ones-on-ones, twos-on-twos, offense against defense, and answer some more questions, because when you put something like that on the field on Monday, it goes on tape. You look at it, you practice it on Tuesday and Wednesday, you do it again on Thursday, it's going to look a little bit different. As you know, Dana Holgorsen likes to go 3-day installation and 3-day kind of polishing and refining. So Monday is Thursday. It's kind of like that throughout the whole, roughly 2.5 weeks here that they're going to have their preseason camp, which ends Saturday. So today was the first of the final 3 days, and this weekend they'll begin to put together depth charts. So when they take the field again next week and begin 2 weeks of working on themselves, and then William and Mary, and probably honestly a little bit of Oklahoma, they'll have a much better idea of who they're going to put out there, where they're going to put those people, and then how and when they'll use them. And a lot of those decisions will be based on what happened Monday and today. And what do we see today? We'll get to that in a minute, but we'll also begin with some other things that we did see today, which is not a lot of red out there. In fact, none. Funny how that happens at the end of practice, when you start to hear your name more and more from the coaches. You maybe read about it in the paper because you're not out there, and you wonder who is passing you by and what's happening to your position. Suddenly you get very healthy and you get back out there quickly. Two guys in red we know for sure. Juwan Snow, the linebacker, Adam Pankey, the offensive lineman. Adam, I think they have hope still that he'll be back in maybe October. He could contribute, give them maybe that 10th, 11th guy, believe it or not, on the offensive line. And Dana Holgorsen kind of jokingly today said that, Juwan Snow is year to year probably. It does seem like he's had injury problems. We're not sure what it is this time. A shoulder has been his thing for a long time, so maybe it's that again. But beyond that, the only guys in green, Kevin White, Dante Campbell at receiver, and Nick Kwiatkowski, who's kind of new to the green jersey in this part of camp. But beyond that, everybody who was in green, Jordan Thompson, Wes Tonkery, Jared Barber, guys like that we mentioned before, suddenly healed, ready to go again. And they were used in key situations later on. What's weird about these changes here in the jersey colors is, while Kevin has been there in green for a while, it's been good for some people. Everybody seems to say that KJ Myers, who was really the almost by default veteran there, if you don't consider Ivan McCartney, who left the team last year and came back, kind of a veteran. But KJ has really taken off, and he's secured probably the second outside spot. And if you talk to some people, he's been really, really good these past couple of days when Kevin's been out. Nick Kwiatkowski's been there the whole time. This is kind of maybe an unfortunate thing for him, because I think a lot of people assumed he was just a product of the spring, that middle kind of inside linebacker position. Maybe he would just get that in the spring and somebody would come in the fall and knock him out. That hasn't been the case. Here's a guy who's been in the program for a couple of years now, has put on the weight, and has learned the position. And this is the only time he's really come off the field. He's been in that first team group for a long time. So if you're a fan of him, you hope he comes back quickly, because he has been solid and reliable in there. And Keith Patterson wants guys who are dependable, especially at those linebacker positions. The special teams obviously began practice, and it's funny how this goes too, and this is kind of a sign of how things go during camp. You remember the first day, Dana Holgorsen said he had 3 punters. He had no idea who the third punter was, and I told you stories about how Houston Syverson, the in-state kid, a really big guy, 6'2", 225, he booms it, and much like Josh Lambert, when he kicks the ball, it sounds differently when it comes off Syverson's foot. And Dana Holgorsen kind of raved about him today a little bit and said that he kicks maybe as well or better than the other two punters. And not only does he know Houston Syverson's name, he now calls him Huey. So he's gone from no name to nickname very quickly, a sign of how that young man has come along in this camp. Shortage of specialists in some regard. They did add a kicker to help Josh Lambert, kind of keep some of the pressure off him. But what Joe DeForest wants to do, he wants to have a place kicker, he wants to have a punter, and he wants to have a kickoff specialist. Right now, Michael Molinari and O'Toole, the punter, Nicholas O'Toole, are the guys who are doing kickoffs. And Joe DeForest doesn't really want to do that with his punter, because it's such a different kick. He'd like to keep the leg fresh, because that gate can only swing so many times before it needs a break. And if you could have 3, that'd be good. That might be a spot for Molinari. Maybe it's a spot for Syverson. Previously, DeForest said that he didn't think Syverson could do it because it was such a new skill to him, but maybe because he kicks it so well and he's drawn some positive reviews, maybe that's a role he gets in the future, and maybe we'll all know his name in some time soon. The interesting part of practice, I think, was that there wasn't a whole lot of changes in the first and second team offenses and defenses, which is either good or bad. Maybe you want some of those second team guys rising up and challenging. Maybe you have a good idea of who you have on first and second team, and that's a good thing because those guys are getting reps in the spots they're supposed to get them. But first team, very similar. Your quarterback, again, Clint Trickett. But now you remember there's been problems with the inside receivers. They've been targeted by Shannon Dawson and Dana Holgerson. So what do you do if you don't have 2 inside receivers, let alone 3 or 4? You play 1. So when they went out there today, they had their outside receivers as KJ Myers and Ronald Carswell. The inside receiver is Mario Alford. What does that mean? Well, they didn't use the tight end. They didn't use the fullback. You know that. They used 2 running backs. And running behind the offensive line, same as it was the other day, Quentin Spain, Marquise Lucas, Tyler Orlowski, Mark Lewinsky, and Curtis Fight. You had Charles Sims and Dre'Myah Smith. Interesting how they used these guys. In one play, they motioned Sims out from the backfield to the right, and they ran Dre'Myah the other way. Kind of a deception thing. You could move one guy, you're going to divert your attention to the really good player on offense, and you let Dre'Myah run the other way. Another time, they moved Dre'Myah from one side of the field to the other, and Sims ran behind him as a blocker. You're starting to see some of the thought process about how they're going to use these guys. Another part that was really interesting to me was they threw outside to Alford once from the right side to the left side. Alford got tackled, and between the time the whistle blew and Clint Trickett got his offense up there, got the play in, and called it out, and snapped the ball, 12 seconds elapsed. That's pretty quick. That's a rapid pace. That's what they want to do. Those are the good habits they want to establish in offense. Thought that was an interesting thing because it was very crisp. And on that play, it wasn't like Clint panicked because he hurried everything up. He went through 1 or 2 reads and then found Alford again kind of running across the middle, uncovered. He found a spot, got into it, got himself open. That takes some time, but from the end of one play to the end of the other, it looked like that Trickett had kind of composed himself and kept that going in a good direction for the offense. First team defense, again, a lot of the same names from the other day. The defensive line, Will Clark, Shaq Rowell, and Eric Kinsey again. Looks like he's doing really well still. Has held that position down. The linebackers, again, outside linebacker. Isaiah Bruce, maybe that's going to stay now. Wes Tonker is back. He was over there on the other side of the linebacker position. Inside, Jared Barber, he returned. Doug Rigg, he's maintaining that spot. Old man in the middle, nothing wrong with that. Cornerbacks, again, Ickey Banks, Travis Bell. Safeties, once again, Darwin Cook, Carl Joseph. When they went back after the first team traded with the second team and the first team came back on, they did 4 receivers. Your 4th receiver was Da'Keil Shorts. He's an inside guy now. They moved him outside to inside. Looked like he knew what he was doing. It caught a really nice square out on the left side of the field. The throw was on point. He caught it on the sideline, caught it, kept his speed in, moved the ball about 20 or so yards. Seemed to get a pretty good reception, I guess, if you will, from his teammates on the sideline over there. And the running back in that situation, they only had one. It's Wendell Smallwood, who has really come along here, the freshman in camp. And Dana Holgerson said today that Shorts and Smallwood are definitely going to play. Smallwood's probably that 5th running back, depending on how you look at it. He's definitely not 1 or 2. Is he 3, 4, 5? Who knows? But he's not going to redshirt. He's going to play. If not on offense, he'll have a spot on special teams. They like him returning kicks, too. We saw that in the spring. He's kind of continued that so far in camp here. Second team defense. That was where things got a little bit more interesting. It got really kind of confusing with the linebackers. They moved guys around. You had some people in there you hadn't seen before. Your second team defense, though, the line was Dontrell Hyman, Christian Brown, and Noble Nwachukwu. Your linebackers were, again, Wes Tonker, then Tyler Anderson on the outside, Shaq Petaway, and Dozie Azima. Those are a lot of outside linebackers there. I'm not sure if I wrote those numbers down wrong, if they were just trying stuff out maybe today, but maybe that's all they had to use. I don't know. When you take Kwiatkowski out, maybe you sub somebody in, but a lot like receivers, they're going to put the best guys out there in those positions if they can. Cornerbacks were Broderick Jenkins and Daryl Worley, the freshman again. Looks like he's up in the second team. Safeties, KJ Dillon and Ricky Rump. Second team offense. Paul Millard was your quarterback there. Nick Kindler was your left tackle. Russell Houghton James was your left guard. He took a false start penalty that derailed the first drive for the second team. Tony Matteo was your center. Stone Underwood was your right guard. Pat Egger was your right tackle. Your receivers, Ivan McCarty, and once again, Terrence Gordy. And this is a guy who has been exposed to really good players the last couple of years. He was roommates with Stedman Bailey and Geno Smith. Probably saw some really good habits. He's been away. He's come back. Maybe something has clicked for him. He's been second team and made some plays the last couple of days. And your inside receivers were, if I can find my spot on the sheet here, Jordan Thompson, that number 10 guy, perhaps you've heard of him. We haven't talked to him in a long time, but in case you have forgotten. And Cody Clay, who had hurt a hamstring but was back in a white jersey today. No problems there. So now you're getting an idea of where things are going. This is probably a more realistic version of what a depth chart might look in a couple of days. Again, the coaches will take this, they'll look at the film, they'll see how things go today, tomorrow, Saturday. They'll start to formulate some depth charts, but probably, if you consider what was here on Monday, what you have now today, it's going to look more like this probably. But consider, too, that maybe they made some changes to see what it looked like on film, and they didn't like it today. Monday, maybe they'll like that better. So you might see some more change in there. I'm not sure you'll have a depth chart in your hand by Monday. Hopefully that's the case. One more thing for you here. There was an addition to the team today, as well as 2 subtractions. I think everybody knows by now that Connor Arlia, the young man who was injured in the pre-Orange Bowl jet ski accident, came back, played 9 games last year, caught a couple passes, had some good moments. He has left the team, as well as redshirt freshman Will Johnson, not Will Thomas. Will Johnson is his name. I messed that up early in the season. I apologize to him. I'm sure he and his family watched this, and I can't really say that proud moment for me there. Also new to the team, though, maybe as soon as tomorrow, is freshman Isaac McDonald. Big 6'5", 200-pound safety who has probably missed too much time because of an NCAA eligibility center issue. He's back now. He could be here as soon as tomorrow, but he'll have 2 weeks of practice. He'll have a lot of catching up to do. Probably a redshirt candidate, I would imagine. Ceiling is really, really high for him, talking to some people, but maybe a good thing, at least in the back end where they're still looking for players at safety, is Jeremy Tyler, the freshman from Atlanta, has surged lately. Everybody has a lot of really nice things to say about him. Big, physical, strong, fast kid. He's going to play. He may be a backup, not necessarily out of necessity like KJ Dillon was last year, but again, a freshman in the back end who I think they'd like to take some of the pressure off Cook and Joseph at the safety position, at least let them take a couple plays off a game. One more note, though, now that you have Isaac McDonald here, you don't have Darian Howard, and you have not yet seen Devontae Henry. Devontae Henry left for a personal reason. Darian Howard is not here yet. He, too, is hung up in the eligibility center. Daily Mail wrote a story today, if you haven't seen it, about West Virginia contracting a big-time lawyer, kind of known as the cleaner for schools who have a problem, a mess with the NCAA. Others like to call him the Wolf from Pulp Fiction, but when you call him, he's on it. He's going to fix it, and West Virginia has sought his help with an initial eligibility matter with a player on the football team. To clarify here, it's not going to be a junior college player. They have to go to the eligibility center to get basically confirmed, but they have to have an associate degree before they can step on campus, so it's not going to be a junior college player. It's going to be a freshman. It's not necessarily Howard or was it McDonald. It could be somebody who is on campus as well. So you see this sometimes too. A freshman will be here practicing for a long time, and then they'll get pulled because the NCAA has raised the flag and they want to look at it. What this is, though, according to a statement from the university today, is just something that's a little bit unique, and they basically wanted help with it. It's something that even Oliver Luck told the Daily Mail yesterday was not really in their wheelhouse as lawyers. They had a certain expertise they're looking for, and that's why they went and got Mike Glazer. So don't necessarily assume it's a bad thing. It might be very normal. It just needs a little bit of a different set of eyes on the problem there, and it may be resolved. It may not be. Who knows? But the panic button is very easy to reach for. Maybe we shouldn't do that here. And then I'll close with something today as a treat, I guess, for you all. Thank you for really here for riding shotgun with me on these. They started kind of tongue-in-cheek in the spring, and to be honest with you, I've grown to like them. I understand you have too. We've had some fun with them, and I think I've learned a little bit from this as well about this football team and where it's going this season. Just haven't talked about it so much, but we kind of put a cap on a crazy time today by getting a Freedom of Information Act request granted by the university, and what that was it gave us the bid history from the first 2 RFP processes for West Virginia outsourcing their multimedia rights and athletic department. By now, you know IMG College will be running those things unless this gets really messed up in the courts right now, and it's just a litigious mess that West Virginia still finds itself in. But some of those things, there was a video online today that I posted on Twitter and on my blog. You can look at it, that showed how IMG had presented itself and its capability based on its experience with their college, and that was part of their presentation. They also did an audio presentation of what their radio potential for all their production side would sound like. And if you don't mind, I'll close with that today. You probably had enough of me talking. I'm a little cottonmouth myself here, but close on this. It's been a good spring and a good summer. I hope you've enjoyed this. I think you'll probably be hearing from the Tier 4 studio sometime soon, maybe in a different venue, but thank you very much. It's been good again seeing you. I'm positive it was good to see me this whole time, and thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
The following is a presentation of IMG, America's home for college sports.
Snap it back. The kick is up, and that kick is good. That's a Big East Conference winner.
A new era begins in Morgantown.
Breaking news
West Virginia will move to the Big 12
Look forward
Conference.
to being a proud member of the Big 12.
And the next chapter of Mountaineer football starts now.
Deep in, touchdown, West Virginia. Now this ball is intercepted. Did you see Geno Smith thread that ball? West Virginia records the safety. Holy Dixon on the 5. He's in the end zone. It's a West Virginia touchdown.
Game day coverage continues with scores from around the Big 12 and Top 25. Now, inside the IMG Network studios, here's Tony Castricone.
We're counting it down to kickoff from College Station as the Mountaineers take on the Aggies of Texas A&M. Time now for a check of scores from around the Big 12 this afternoon. We'll start with Texas as the Longhorns hosted BYU. The visitors were clinging to a 6-point lead in the fourth quarter with Texas at the BYU 3-yard line.
McCoy with the snap. Turns, hands it. Johnson to the goal line. Touchdown, Texas. Cody Johnson plows across for his second score of the night.
Craig Way on the call. Longhorn Sports Network from IMG. And your final from Austin. Texas defeats BYU 17-16. Meanwhile, down in Waco, Baylor and Oklahoma going down to the wire. The Bears with the ball inside the OU red zone. The score tied at 38 and 15 seconds to play.
Griffin steps up, slides to the left side. He's throwing for the end zone.
Touchdown!
Oh, it's gone! Oh, my goodness! Touchdown, Bears! Touchdown, Baylor! Oh, it's caught by Terrence Williams! Touchdown, Bears! With 8 seconds to play.
John Morris on the Baylor IMG Sports Network on the call. Robert Griffin with the heroics at the end for the Bears. He throws for 479 and 4 touchdowns as Baylor defeats Oklahoma 45-38. Coming up after the break, we'll check scores from around the top 25 as we get you ready for West Virginia and Texas A&M today on the Mountaineers Sports Network.
We are America's home for college sports.
Great to have you with us for the 107th renewal. Michigan and Ohio State.
Listen to the Rock Chalk chant here in St. Louis.
Inside the 5. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Husky Lightning strikes
He
twice.
touches home. The Gamecocks are the national champions.
College basketball's national championship trophy is coming home to Kentucky.
The Auburn Tigers are on top of the college football world, and the view from up here is sheer perfection.
This is IMG.